my name's Helen. I'm the Diddy Stitcher. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, thank you so much for clicking. I know there's a ton of content this time of year in the Flosstube land. So thank you. Hope you see some things that you like and you might want to stick around. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for sticking with me. I love you guys. Okay, so today we are gonna do my 2024 WIP parade. It is Tuesday the 31st of December. I am cutting it a bit fine to get in the 2024, but we're gonna do this. We might have to do it in sections. I'm not sure how long this is gonna take, but we'll just see how we get on. I am not doing a finish parade this year, just decided to scratch that one off my to-do list. But kind of 2024 stats, I had 34 finishes, which is great. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't think I could name them off without looking at my list. I had 43 starts, which seems insane. And I'm ending the year with 30 WIPs. So yeah, 30 WIPs is what I shall show you today. I have notes. I have my Notion from the template from Stitchy Natty, and it's always linked below if you want to check it out. It's how I organize all my stats, and it's just brilliant. So if you're after some organization for the new year, check it out. Highly recommend. Okay, so last year I think I overplanned, basically, is what it came down to. My last WIP parade, I kind of looked at everything and decided what I wanted to achieve on that project in the year 2024. And it got to the end of November, and I'd only achieved, I think half. I think I did get to half, maybe a little bit less than half of those goals, and it was just too overwhelming. I was really demotivated because I wasn't achieving those goals, because honestly, the goals that I set were ridiculous. So my new plan for 2025 is no plans, just vibes. So I am not setting any goals. I am gonna try to not join any sals or, obligation stitching, round robins, that kind of thing. I loved doing it last year, but I just need some time to progress on my own stitching, and I will be an observer of those sales and loving everybody's updates. But for me, it's just vibes. If the vibe is joining on a sal, go for it, but don't feel obligated to, which is where I get into trouble sometimes. I get swept up in the hive mind of wanting to do everything. And I guess it's kind of a little bit about saying no to these things and not feeling left out because of it. Like, WIP Go does not work for me at all. I get to about April and then I'm about done. I fall off. And those kind of things, it seems like everybody's doing it, which is great, but I'm trying to be in the mindset of, if I'm not doing it, it doesn't mean I'm not part of the community. I'm just doing my own thing over here, but I will cheer you doing your WIP Go goals, your prompts, everything like that. Love that for you. I'm gonna step back, and if you need to too, that's absolutely fine. Please join me. And if you want to keep going with all of your plans and you know exactly how many stitches you're going to do every single day from here to next December, I love that for you. But I need to take some pressure off myself. So we're just vibing it. Now, having said that, I do need some kind of restrictions. Not restrictions, that's a bad word. What's the word I'm looking for? Just some guidelines. It's not a you have to do this, it's an if you do this, this will happen. Because when I started the month in December, trying to get towards these goals that I had set at the beginning of 2024, and I realised that the goals that I had set myself were just psyching myself out. That I was like, oh, I can't possibly do 500 stitches on that. When actually, once I did get it out the project bag and put it on a key snap and put it in my Lowry stand, it's amazing what progress that you can get on a project when you're actually stitching on it, rather than just looking at it on the shelf. I mean, all my shelves are empty now because they're all over here. But looking at the shelf and going, oh no, it's too much. Need to get out of that mindset. So I have written down notes of all my WIPs. I'm going to look back for those that were started before the start of 2024, what the goals were for those, and if I achieved them. And then I've kind of written myself I don't want to call it a goal. It's not a goal because it's not about doing those. It's if you stitch 500 stitches a month on this thing, it will be finished in X number of months, X number of years. And then I look at that on my little prompt. I have my magnet board. If you're not familiar with that, I'll show you in a bit. That I can look at and pick a WIP off and say, if I just do 500 stitches of that, I can be done in a couple of months. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to stitch 500 stitches a month. It's like I'm giving myself a little pick and mix. And if I want to do some really chunky stitching, I can get something out for the month. One of my big full coverages that needs a lot of work. And if I just want a little snack, just a little treat, then I can say, oh, if I just do that section of this piece, I can be done it in a couple of months. And then slowly I eat away at everything. That's the plan. As I say, talk to me again in April. My plans are usually by the roadside somewhere, and I'm off in the distance, probably on a sal. Let's talk to Helen in 6 months' time and see where she is. But yeah, that's the plan. That's kind of the vibe that we're going with. And yeah, we're just gonna look at all my WIPs, try and fall in love with them again, because I know some of them haven't been touched in 12 months, 11 months since this January 2024. And I think it's a real shame. So I have you on a computer here. I've got my Notion up on my big screen now so I can see it. So I've got some notes down here, but if I need to refer to anything, I'll be looking up here. I'll try not to be too distracting with it. I have my tea. We'll probably need to stop a few times for some tea breaks, but that's absolutely fine. And yeah, hope you've got your stitching. Tag us in your hashtag parade progress 2425. I think that's what it is. I'll put it on the screen. It's kind of hosted by Michelle Bendy. That you take a picture at the start of WIP parades or finish parades or just big videos this time of year, and then take a picture at the end to show how much stitching you've done while watching that video, which I think is really fun. I have not watched any WIP parades yet this year, which is terrible of me, but I am so excited to do this, to have my vibes in mind, and then go and enjoy all of the videos and enjoy all of my stitching. So yeah. So I'm gonna go WIPs by started, oldest to newest, and we'll just go right into it. So first one, well, first kind of two. These are my oldest WIPs. This is the bag by Kaylee's Tent Stitch. Absolutely beautiful. So, what have we got here? I've got no plans for bags and everything, so it's just going to be a bit chaotic. I'm going to end up with a pile. It's probably going to be a fire hazard. We're okay. So, my first official one. So, these are two patterns, two full coverage patterns that are kind of like sisters. I started one, and then a week later I started the other one. But they're kind of twins in my eyes. So this is Moe Imperial by Scarlet Quince, based on artwork by Alphonse Mucha. Unfortunately, Scarlet Quince are closing, I think, at the end of this year. So if they're not already closed. So you won't be able to get this anymore, but I think some other full coverage people do this kind of artwork. Please check the reputability of said sellers, because I got in trouble with one that I'll show you in a bit. So yeah, this was started. This is it. Here's what it'll look like. I'll put pictures up because it's a digital pattern. I started this July 13th, 2019. That's disgusting. And I've got the top pages done. This is kind of 2.5 pages. But it's digital, so I kind of don't really count it like that. So this is where we are. This is 17.5% the way through. Basically a fifth, if we round up generously. So my 2024 goal for this was to finish that second page. So I did that. And I did that in the first half of January. So I haven't seen this since January last year, which I think is really sad. So to get to a finish, I need 70,000 stitches on this. And if I do 3,000 stitches a month, I'll get there in 2 years. Which 3,000 stitches a month seems a lot. I do all right with my number of stitches. This is hard because this is very confetti. It's basically all blends, so it kind of slows down your progress somewhat. But yeah, I don't have to do 3,000 stitches a month. It's just if I want to get it out, maybe get to 3,000, and that's a month ticked off. So this is on 18 count Ada, just white. It's full coverage, but this white bit isn't stitched. So I don't know technically if the full coverage police want to tell me it's not full coverage because of the percentage or whatever. It's full coverage. Back off. So yeah, this is Moe Imperial. And then, so a week or so later, July 21st, 2019, before Anna was even born. Anna's my daughter, if you don't know. this is at 16.7%. So this is the twin, sister, brother, whatever you want to call it. This is what it's going to look like eventually. I'm at the same kind of, I finished that top page, but because these white bits aren't stitched, it's not quite the same percentage as the other one. So this is 16.7% progressed. The 2024 goal was to finish that second page. I did do that. This has got about 500 stitches more left to do than Imperial, but I've said it's about 3,000 stitches. I'll be finished in about 2 years, which I think is fine for a full coverage. That'll be 2027, end of 27, 8 years. It's not bad. Considering all the other stitching I do, I am not a monogamous stitcher by any means. So yeah, same fabric, 18 count Aida. And I love it. I do love these pieces. I just need to dedicate more time to them. So yeah, let me show you. This is my bobbin box for both of them. It says Imperial, but I condensed them because I put them in the same project bag. Because I do want to kind of work on them at the same time, so they finish at the same time, so I can get them framed at the same time. All of that. And there's a lot of colour crossover, so it just kind of made sense. But yes, I bobbin for the most part, especially my full coverages. It just helps me. So onto my third oldest WIP. I might have to stand up for this one. This is just a file folder thing. So this is, I kind of call this Christmas Village. This is a big piece that I'm doing of multiple Mill Hill Buttons and Beads Christmas Village houses. So I started this 1st of Jan 2020. So that was how I started that year. So yeah, this is, so I've done 9 houses. I'm planning to do 12 and then turn it into a wall hanging that I can put for Christmas. Didn't achieve it for this year, hopefully next year. So the goal was to finish it, and I didn't do that. I think I struggled with this a lot because I did plan on doing, so if you know the Mill Hill Christmas Village series, you have these kind of houses and shops and stuff, but they also do like little scenes. They have like a skating pond one and a caroling one, and I had those in my plans, and then I started stitching one of them. I can't even remember what it was, and I was like, I don't like how this looks. You have like 10 houses, like one in the middle at the bottom, and then 2 scenes on either side. So I kind of stopped stitching on it. I didn't want to stitch it. Before I put it away for good, I did go back to the drawing board because I want to do multiple of these. I want to do all of them. There is quite a few. So I was planning on doing 3 with everything, all those scenes as well. But the third one wasn't complete yet because there's not quite enough of them, and I don't know if they're making any more. They had a lot of them in like the 2010s, and they've been doing kind of like 1 a year, and I don't know if they've done one for this year. So anyway, there wasn't quite enough to do a third one, so I've condensed it into 2, and then I'll end it at that because it is quite a lot. I do really like them though. They're really fun stitches. So I just need to get back on doing that. So yeah, I'm doing it on one big piece of So it's 28 count linen. So it matches like the 14 count perforated paper that would come with the kit. This is the colour Dirty. And I have fully done these two at the top. But I've only done the stitching and some of the back stitching in the others. Come back and do the beading. So that's like a whole other thing. Is when I finish the stitching, it won't be finished. So that's kind of holding me back too. But I think it'll look good. I'll probably have to pay somebody because I don't have a sewing machine to do like a nice border with some fabric and a backing and a little dowel and a hanger kind of thing. So yeah, so I have plans now. Figured it out. I did start. I can't even remember what this is, and I shan't look. But yeah, it's kind of sorted out now. But it was kind of eating away at me. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't like the plan that I had, so it kind of just got forgotten about. It's easy to do that when you've got so many WIPs that you can just put a WIP away and forget about it. So yeah, if I pick one up a month, then I can finish it in 3 months, and then we kind of go back to the beginning and bead everything, which will be interesting. We'll see. And then I'll probably have to start the second one. But that seems daunting right now. Next on the start, another big one. So I started this April 3rd, 2020, so about 2 weeks before Anna was born. I was very big stitching on a very big Q-snap. So this is my chatelaine. It's amazing Lavender Garden. I love it so much. She's so pretty. So this is on a 32 count. Can't remember. Let's check the notion. That's why that's there, you know. It is a 32 count pearl grey linen by Zweigart. So yeah, where am I? So I bought the PDF of the pattern. If you know chatelaine patterns, you know that they're quite hard to read on the paper versions. The PDF, you just get one page with the whole pattern on, so you have to blow it up real good. So I blew it up and then printed it out. So the pattern is on 18 pages, but obviously because it's round, it's like these pages only have a tiny bit on. Anywho, so I finished 9 of 18, so technically I'm halfway through, but you know, this next page is going to be a chunky one compared to this one that had like this tiny bit in the corner. But that's how I'm doing it. So the 2024 goal was to finish page 9, which was this one, which I've kind of done. There's a little bit here where this this kind of beigey triangle starts. So I'm kind of leaving that till the next page just to carry that on, but it's fine. So yeah, if I manage to do a page a month, I'll be finished in 8 months. That seems very reasonable. I'll let you have a close-up look. So I am doing all the stitching, and then I'll come back and do all the beading. This is a 17 by 17 Q snap, and it just about fits in there. I do not take it off the Q snap. It's not squishing anything, and it's just how I like it. It's a bit difficult to work on. I have it in my Lowry stand. Just about works. It's a little bit fiddly, but that's where we are. So yeah, we're about halfway done with it. It's fine. I keep that one in a big pillowcase. It's my very fancy project bag for that. And then all of my materials are just in one of these folders. Very nice, fancy floss and fancy, what do you call it? Specialty stitches. It's fun. So yeah, that was Amazing Lavender Garden. Next page. Okay. These are why all of these projects are my really big projects that I haven't finished yet. This was started the 24th of June 2020. So I was on maternity leave. The world was inside, and kind of lost my mind a bit and decided to start this piece. So this is Moon and Stars. I think that's kind of the collective name for these 4 panels. Again, art by Alphonse Mucha. This is a pattern that I believe is not legitimately licensed. I did it at a time where I didn't know about things like that. It was from Etsy. The Etsy shop is no longer active. But I am continuing to stitch it just because, and it's a learning experience. So that's where I am with that. So this is the Morning Star panel. They are technically 4 separate patterns, so I kind of have 2 lots of stats for each one and then the thing as a whole, because this thing goes on forever. It's going to be huge. So the progress on this one, do I have it? So in my Notion, I've put it all as one project. So the whole 4 come up to 283,900 stitches. So I'm 5.3% of the way through. I did have something written down. On the stats of each panel, but I don't have it in my Notion, so I have to go and put that back in. So my goal for 2024 was to get to 10%. Have not done that. I don't know. I have worked on it a few times. Only 500 stitches since this time last year. So this is on 25 count Lugana in vintage grey. So it's the printed fabric, so it looks a bit mottled, but it's just a print. It's not a hand dyed. So I'm doing a panel, leave a little gap, a panel, and then when I frame it, I'll leave a little gap. So yeah, that's that. So I'm doing 1/1 full cross. What do you call it? Cross country stitch. I really like this piece. I really like stitching on it. I really like doing 1/1 and 25 count. It's really soothing. And this one is not blends, so that makes it easier. But yeah, I just haven't been in a full coverage kind of stitching mood. Obviously when I started these, 2019, 2020, I was. Maybe I'll get back to it. That's fine. So if I do 3,000 stitches a month, same as my other Alphonse full coverages, It'll take me more than 2 years. But maybe I can just, if I get it out, you know, maybe try and keep it out until I get 3,000 stitches. But whatever. This is my bobbin box for this one. This is the colours just for this first panel. So it's a little bit smaller. I'm gonna have to dump this. That's not pretty. So then we rush ahead 2 years from June 24th, 2020 to June 10th, 2022 to Sing a Sampler by Silver Creek Samplers. Is that right? Where's my oh, there it is. I thought I'd lost my WIP. So these are paper patterns, so I'm not counting my stitches. My needle minder's in the wrong place there. And this is where I am. Ta-da! So this is completely uncalled for. This is not how the pattern looks on the cover of these patterns. It's 4 separate patterns. It's complete color conversion. It's recharting in lots of ways. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, this one. So the progress is I've just got the words left to do. I struggled with that for a bit, finding floss colours, because I've done it in this kind of rainbow, and I didn't know whether I wanted the words to be the same as the Do Re Mi or a different colour. So when I was at Stitch North in April, the lovely Stitchy Nathy helped me pick out some colours that are like a more pastel version of a rainbow, just for some differentiation. So my 2024 goal was to finish all of this stuff in the boxes. Took me a while because I had to do lots of recharting for how I wanted it to look. So this is what I did in, was this in November or December? I don't know. This is when I started the panic of I should try and hit some goals. So I hit the goal, finished the stuff in the boxes. So yeah, it's just the words left to do, words in the boxes, and then the big long, when you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything at the bottom. And I haven't decided what colour I'm going to do that in, but I figure I'll do everything else and then come back to that. So if I just do 1 block a month, that can be done in 9 months, 8 blocks, and then the big words at the bottom, which is not a lot. I think if I got it out, I would stitch more than 1 block, because it's not too much stitching left to do. I could definitely finish this video, but it's not the plan, which is vibes. Calm down, Helen. So this is stitched on 40 count Cafe au Lait by Zweigart. This is cursed fabric. Everything that I stitched on this has gone wrong in some way. So the me block there is 1 stitch too short, and then everything else was off because of that. But we figured it out. It's fine. I think my block with that was just figuring out those rechartings and the colour conversions, but we've done that now, so I can just get on with that. Next, I think I was on a starting kick, because this was 10 days later I started this. This is Gather Here from Hello by Hello from Liz Matthews. Oh, that was it. Can you hear that wind? That's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, this is Gather Here. This is a paper chart, but I am counting stitches. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. There's no rhyme, no reason. I'm stitching it on a 28-ish count linen band thing. Don't really know. I literally counted the holes top to bottom to make sure it would fit and get it kind of in the middle, and it worked. So the goal was to get it to 75%, and it is now at 75.5%. So hit that. So there's not a ton left to do. That's still a quarter, Helen. Calm down. So if I do 400 stitches a month, which isn't a lot, I could do that in one sitting. I'd be finishing 5 months, which, you know, considering it's 2.5 years old. Yeah. We're not judging. Close up. I'm not sure what the call for is. I haven't got the original in here. But I am stitching it in Deep Fennel and Bejeweled by Classic Colourworks. And when I'm finished, I think I'll like get 2 dowels or whatever and hang it like that at my front door or something. But I do like that one. It just takes time. 1/1 on 28 count. Next is Sleeping Bee by The Blue Flower. This is another paper chart, but I'm putting pictures up, I hope. Thank you, editing Helen. So this is still on keys now. Don't know why. Let me take it out because you can't see the whole thing. Hold on. Okay. This is Sleeping Bee. This is on 40 count, Cafe au lait, the cursed fabric. I don't know what happened to that margin. I think I cut a piece of fabric. This was the offcut. I stitched on the offcut rather than my actual measured piece of fabric. It is gonna fit, and we're just going with it. So it's a paper pattern, but I'm not counting stitches. But that's how far we are. Maybe about halfway. So my 2024 goal was to finish the top half. So I'm finished kind of this side of it. I didn't manage. I have been working on it in December. I didn't manage it. It's fine. So to finish, woo. If I do, so it is a circle again, but I've split it into like rows of 10. I like doing rows of 10. That works with my brain. So like kind of this row of upwards is done, and then, you know, the next row of 10, this is done. I've just got a little bit to do here, and then this, there might be something to do here, the wing, and then a little bit here. But so what is left is rows of 10 12 rows. So if I do finish off that row of 10 a month, I'll be finished in a year, which again is like, I would stitch more than that in a session if I got this out, but that's just, it's not a goal, it's just what would happen. So yeah, I'm stitching this in the called for. I kitted this up before I knew some things about Weeks Dye Works that I don't like, so I don't use them anymore, but I'm using my stash. Yeah. Then next, so I started that 1st of September with Amy, Pearls and Ponderings. We had this, I don't know why we did it. I think we were both in, was this before? Must have been before. We started before we met for the first time at Floss Friends retreat in November of 2022 or the October. Can't remember. But hers and my birthday are in October. So we started in the September with Sleeping Bee, and we were gonna do like a new starter month, and I think we both must have been mad. But we love her. So October 1st, 2022, I started Autumn Queen by Mirabilia. And this is where I am. Oh, I love it so much. So this is the progress that I have. So I did her face or skin in 1/1, and I've done all of the stitching and the back stitching as I go, and then I'll come back and do the beading. And this is on, check my Notion, this is 32 count Dove Grey, called for floss. So I don't have a stitch count progress, but I guess I'm just like nearly at her hip, and then she's got a big old skirt, so not halfway stitching wise. My 2024 goal was to finish the top 120 rows. I don't think I quite got there, but kind of close enough. So if I did those 10 rows a month, I'd be finished in 19 months, which is a lot, but it's a big skirt. So doing more than 10 rows, you know, the equivalent. I'm not going to stitch in rows. It's going to be like a big block here. Anyway, so yeah, this is the chart by Mirabilia, as I said before, designed by Nora Corbett, and there's some feelings now about, well, not I don't think it's a recent thing. It's recently come to my attention, that her, I don't have the screen grab or anything, but there was a comment maybe on a Facebook thing, or she posted a message or something that was like, if you're going to stitch Bella Filipina, don't stitch my stuff. I think the premise is that she thinks that Bella Filipina is copying her designs or anything. She hasn't provided any hard evidence. I'm thinking she might just be jealous of the popularity of Bella Filipina. And it's the same kind of fancy lady style, but I think Bella Filipina definitely has their own style of, it's Mirabilia, Nora Corbett is very traditional. It's fancy ladies. I think Bella Filipina is elevated. It's just doing more good. If it's like a copy paste of a pattern and they're selling it, yes, I could see that. But I just think she's being salty. And I don't think you should be dictating to people what patterns they can stitch and why. You know, like, pit designer against designer. Like, there is room at the table for everybody. Having said that, I'm of the mindset, having spoken to my group of stitching friends, that we should F Nora and stitch her stuff, because she doesn't want her stuff being stitched alongside Bella Filipina. Now, I have not stitched a Bella Filipina. I would love to. But, like, I am not choosing one over the other. I will UFO one of my Mirabilia WIPs, but only because I'm, like, not that bothered about it, and it gives me an excuse to pass on that WIP. But, like, I love my Autumn Queen, and there's other Nora Corbett's that I have that I love, and I'm not going to let her spoil that. I would think twice about buying Mirabilia or Nora Corbett in the future, and if I did want to, I would definitely buy secondhand, so the money didn't go directly to her. I don't want to financially support her. But yeah, I'm aware of the difficulties with Nora Corbett as a person, and I acknowledge that, and I'm going to carry on stitching on this particular project, and I would love to stitch a Bella Filipina as well, is what I'm going to say about Nora on that. So yeah, it's a big project. It's going to take me a while, but I do love stitching on it. Next start was March 26th, 2023. So we jumped ahead quite a bit. You know, obviously there was other stitching in there, but I finished them now, which is good. It's good to have finishes. So I started Arcadia from Satsuma Street. This is a design inspired by It's a Small World at Disneyland, California. And I used to work at Disney World in Florida, and I visited California as a cast member. It was amazing. So I'm stitching this as kind of commemorative of my Disney love. Where are we? So this is 21.4% done. My goal was to get 20%. I achieved that. This is pretty full coverage stitching. You can see there's, like, little gaps in the windows, but it's pretty full on. So if I stitch 700 stitches a month, I'll be finished in a year, which that's really tempting. And 700 stitches I don't think is very much on this piece. This is on, let me check Notion, 32 count linen from Coffee Craft Fabrics. I think I picked it up at the Floss Friends retreat that I went to with Amy. It doesn't have a name. I don't think the dyer names her pieces, so I've just called it Sky Blue, because it just, you know, you can imagine it in the sunshine, eating a Mickey ice cream. So yeah, that's that. This is all in the call for, and it does call for DMC light effects, which It's not the best to stitch with, but I'm going to power through. I know I could convert to Krynic or Petite Treasure Braid or something else, but I'm just going to stitch with the light effects. We're going to do short lengths. It's fine. Next start was April 21st, 2023. This was a start, well, I think Megan had already started it, but this was encouraged by my friend Megan of the Long Distance Stitches. Like she on Instagram, Angel of Love by Lavender and Lace, which is I can't remember her name. How do you pronounce it? Where's my thing? Marilyn Levitt Imblum is, if you didn't know, Nora Corbett's mother. And if you look at Lavender and Lace, Butternut Road, Tall in the Garden, they're all by Marilyn. I think you see a lot more similarities between those and Mirabilia than you do between Mirabilia and Bella Filipina. But I think there's some bad blood between mother and daughter there as well. So this is my start on Angel of Love. I love this piece so much. I think the beading is exquisite, if not a pain in my ass. I can't wait to have this on my wall. I've done this on a 32 count, is it? Check. No, it's a 28 count. 28 count even weave that I dyed myself. Just to try and get, I wanted an even weave to get the beads as square as possible. It's really, really difficult. Yeah. We've been talking about this in the Stitchy group too. The way that these designers put beads in, it's like they don't think about the actual beads. I cannot physically put the beads that are charted onto this fabric. And this is called for. It's called for a 28 count linen, which I think would be harder. But yeah, I'm just going for it. I'm taking lots of artistic license with where to put the beads. I'm stitching like the DMC first and then the Krynic and then just putting the beads in where I can. Basically. So that's where I am. But I stitch on this when I'm on Zoom with Megan and we have the loveliest time just sitting in silence, both working on our Angel of Love pieces. She's working from the top down, and like I said, I think she started before me, but she said that she would get hers out if I started mine in that kind of support. So that was nice. So Megan's coming over next year to come to a retreat. And I'm very excited, and she's going to bring Angel of Love so we can take some pictures together. So I need to get further up. So this is 60 rows. Again, it's paper pattern. I'm not counting stitches. We're just kind of going on rows. My goal was to get to 50 rows, which I did, thanks to all of those Zoom calls that we did. Don't think I would have done it without that. And if I do 10 rows a month, I will be finished in 19 months, same as Angel of Love. Not Angel of Love, Autumn Queen. But again, massive skirt. And yeah, takes quite a long time. I think once I get the bulk of the way through the skirt and less beading, it'll be faster, but the beading takes it out of you. But just look at it. It's just gorgeous. I've got some pictures on my Instagram feed that I just love. I just want to pet it. I just sit and pet it. Mwah. I love it. So yeah, this is all called for. I'm stitching and beading at the same time, so I don't have to come back and do the beading. There's too many beads on here to be doing that. And then I'll just extend the Q-snap with some extenders as I get further to the top, so I don't squish the beads in the Q-snap. Yeah, I think that's it about that. This stays on this Q-snap because this is the width as wide as it goes. So what's that? This is is that an 11? 11 inches wide and this is 8 inches high so far. Yeah, it's fine. And then this just lives in another pillowcase that I added a snap to. And everything lives in here in a bobbin box, but it's all just a bit of a mess. That's fine. So that was April 23. We go to June 25th, 23 now, and I started Cinnamon Stars by Plum Street. Yeah. So this is a paper pattern, but I am counting stitches. I'm doing this on a 32 count raw. It's called Floba. It's an even weave, but it's got a linen-y kind of feel. It's teeny. So I am not stitching the bottom with the fence and the pumpkins and the scarecrow and everything. I'm just doing the house and the stars. And this is at 50%. And my goal for 2024 was to get to 50%. This was in the rush at the end of the year. I'm doing it 1/1 full cross on 32 count. And it's quite difficult. Shot myself in the foot there a little bit. But yeah, 50%. And if I do 500 stitches a month, I'll be finished in 6 months. Like I said, 500 stitches is a doable thing for me. 1/1 on 32 count, 500 stitches. I don't know. 2 days later, I guess I was on a starting spree. I started Gran Melano by Renato Parolin. This is what it's going to look like. This is how far I have gone. This is on a 28 count linen banding. 1/1. I bought the banding and then tried to find a pattern that would work for like a bell pull. And this is what I came up with. So the progress on this is about 30 rows. My goal was to get to 50. And that didn't happen. So if we do 30 rows a month, and obviously this is very skinny, so doing 10 rows, it's not a lot of stitching. So I do 30 rows, I'll be finished in a year. But yeah, this one feels like an albatross around my neck kind of thing, because it's just, the pattern is so big, like it's so long, but the stitching is so small. So it feels like you don't get a load of progress when I will do. It's not going to be that long. Just need to get it out of its project bag. So yeah, not counting stitches on that one, just rows. Again, another couple of days later, July 1st, 2023, I started Gingerbread House. This is a little kit from the Nutmeg Company that makes a little 3D gingerbread house. And it's a paper pattern, but I am counting stitches. This is a project that I keep at my desk. So if I'm on a Zoom call or I've got some downtime at work, I can just pick it up and I can hold it in my hand. So it's really easy. Or I take it to Anna's swimming lessons. So this is what I have. So these are the walls. They're all finished apart from the beading and a bit of backstitch, I think. And then this is the roof, and this block of white here is halfway. So progress on this is at 70%, and my goal for the year was 20%. So we've smashed that because we're picking this up more than we are other things. So yeah, if I do 500 stitches a month, I can be finished in 6 months. So we might have this one ready for Christmas 2025. Which is not too bad considering I started in July 23. I've got a lot of WIPs. For me, it's a lot of WIPs. For you, it might be not many WIPs. For you, it might be too many WIPs. That's how I hold it, with little quilting clips. And it just lives in this Little Women pouch. I'm not even going to put it down there because it lives on my desk. So I'm just going to keep it here at my desk. Okay, we'll do one more and then I'll go get some more tea, because then we're about halfway through. So July 27th, I started Christmas Tree Mandala by Chatelaine. It's one of their smaller ones, quite small. So this is where I am. I can't remember which way is up. I don't think it really matters, as long as my stitches go the same way when I pick it up again, but I'll remember that. This is on 32 count Smoky Pearl, and it's just DMC with a little bit of Petite Treasure braid, I think, that I already had in stash. So it was a really easy one to start. So I finished this whole center, this bit, and then these trees, or like bushes. Then you've got the Christmas trees, a bit of hedging, and then a border. So it's a bit difficult to split this one up, but I figured if I do a quarter, I'll be done in 4 months or 4 sessions. I don't think that's that difficult. There's not, the specialty stitches are already done. There might be some in the corner, but it's pretty much just cross stitch and just DMC. So it's easy for me. Maybe it's this way because my needle minder is facing this way. We'll figure that out later. So yeah, my 2024 goal was to finish the middle, which I did, because that was a lot of back stitching that fence that took way more brain power than it should have done. So yeah, that's that. Hold tight, I'm gonna get some more tea. Okay, I'm back. I've had an after 8. I have tidied up somewhat so I'm not stepping on things. But yeah, let's get to the second half. So 28th of September 2023. The world was robbed of a magnificent tree. I talked about it on my Flosstube back then. But if you don't know, Sycamore Gap was a magnificent oak tree in Northumberland, kind of not too far from where I live. And I had visited once. I wish I had been able to see it more. But yeah, on the morning of September 28th, the world woke up to it had been felled. An act of vandalism. We're still not too sure why, who. There was a couple of arrests. I don't know if they're still ongoing things. I don't think anyone was charged. But yeah, it was a beautiful tree, hundreds of years old. It was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. You know that iconic scene? That is that tree. And yeah, it was cut down mindlessly. So a local cross-stitch designer, Jennifer of True Veil Stitch Kits, she designs full coverage pieces of local landmarks to the northeast of England and a little bit further afield she's getting, which is really great. But she had this chart already from a few years before this happened, I think. And it was on my wish list to do because I love the tree and it's a great pattern. So this was the day that I started it in commemoration of it. So this is what the pattern looks like. And this is where I am. This is on 32 count, white, even weave. All of Jennifer's patterns fit into a 5x7 frame if you stitch it on 18 or 32 count, which is great. So why change that? And yeah, it's full coverage, so I just do it on white. So this is at 10.7% done. And you can see by the design, it's very blocky colours. That's her kind of style, which is really great because you can do a lot of filling. So yeah, if I do 500 stitches a month, this will be finished in 2 years, which is a lot. It is full coverage, but I would expect to do more than that at a time, just because it's such an easy stitch to do. But yeah, I'd like to get this on my wall as a commemoration for the tree. It's really, really, really sad that the whole tree is gone. The tree stump is sprouting again, but you know, it took hundreds of years for it to get that big, so we won't see any kind of significant replacement for it in our lifetimes. You know, hopefully generations in the future will. It won't be exactly the same, but it is on National Trust property, so it is like looked after in that way. And the time that it was felled, there was lots of seeds on the tree, so they managed to save some seeds, and those seedlings are sprouting. So it will have a legacy. But yeah, I cried that day, and I will cry again probably. So I'll just move on. That's all in the called for DMC, and yeah, Jennifer does kits for all of her designs, most of her designs. I think she does retire them after a while, but you can still buy the PDF. Check her out, she's amazing. Next, this is Chipping Sparrow Bescore Nest by Crosswing Collection. I started this on December 2nd, 2023, so almost a year ago. And this is a series that I want to do. So in my mind, it's kind of like I can't compartmentalize the one pattern. I have to think about it as the whole, and then that gets overwhelming. So I should just go with the vibes. So these biscuit nests are really, really cute. So it's a biscuit new. If you don't know, it's like a pincushion. And basically you get 2 squares and you stitch them together with opposite, or, you know, it's a really bad example. That's the corner. You put the corners across from each other and then you stitch all of that together so it pulls it into a biscornu shape. And then you put a button usually in the middle and pull the middle in. So it gives you this really cool shape. So most of the time, generally, biscornus will be patterned on the top. Like you have your one square and you have your design on that because you see the whole design. And then the bottom will be plain because it sits on the bottom, and you might have little designs in the corners where it pulls up and you can see those corners. But the biscuit nests are full coverage top and bottom to make it look like an actual bird's nest, which is really, really cool. I love it. So this is the bottom of the nest, the chipping sparrow biscuit nest, and these are designed and scaled to be the size of the actual nests in real life when stitched on 28 count or 14 count. So this is where I am now. So this is, I guess, 50. Well, it's the bottom is done, so then the top needs to be stitched. So you'd think that's 50-50, but on the top is the eggs, and the eggs are 1/1. So technically, by stitches, this is 40% done. So my 2024 goal was to finish the back, which I have. And then if I do 500 stitches a month, I'll finish this one in 6 months. And then I have 2 or 3 others in stash from this series. There is a hummingbird one, which is tiny. So it won't take as long to stitch. But yeah, I like the idea of having little nests just all in a row that are stitched. So yeah, I really like that one. It's really easy stitching, full coverage, 2/2 on 28 count. I should be able to knock that out, no problem. So 5 days later, you can see that in these dates that I do have little star bursts. Interesting. This is another design by Renato Parolin, a bell pull. So it's on this linen banding. Again, it's a 28 count, and I'm doing 1/1. This pattern is called Noel Blanc, but I am changing the colours. So everything that was white is now going to be red. So I guess it should be called Roja. Noel. Rouge? French? I thought it was Italian. Can't remember. Anyway, because I started stitching the Noel in white and you can't really see it on this fabric. So everything's going to go red. I think this is supposed to be mistletoe. So it's not accurate, but it'll just look cute. So yeah, this is on a paper pattern, so I'm not counting stitches on this one. My 2024 goal was to finish that top garland. I didn't get there. And the way that I've split this one up, is by section. So you have this little garland, and then you have the N, and then you have another little garland, and then the O, and so on and so forth. So there's 9 sections in total. And I could finish a section in a month. So it'd be 9 months. So I could finish it by Christmas. If it was a goal, but it's not. Calm down, Helen. And that's all in DMC, and it's mostly the called for, except where I've switched where the red is. This next one is this is the first one in 2024. So I don't have like goals to look at that I set in my WIP parade, because obviously they didn't exist. So I'll just do the if I stitched X in it would, anyway, you know what I mean. So this is, what is it called? Because I call it Celtic Cross, but that's not what the design called. This is called Tarot Spread Chart. This is by Witch's Garden Crafts. So it's a mat you can lay your tarot cards on when you're doing a Celtic Cross spread, which is my husband's favourite spread to do. So I'm kind of doing it for him. I have changed the chart quite a bit. So I'm using the chart as more of inspiration than properly following it, because the way that it's charted, the card size is more of like a standard like playing card size, whereas most of my tarot decks are quite big and chunky. So I took my chunkiest tarot card and changed the size of the boxes to fit my tarot cards. And then the doodads around the outside I will change to fit the new kind of size. Anyway, so my biggest difficulty was this was the fabric. So this is, what is this called again? This was a piece of fabric that I picked up when we went on a little road trip. And there was a crafting shop that I wanted to go to, but it was mostly knitting, yarn, and it was like mostly yarn, quite a bit of sewing, quilting stuff, and then like a little bit of stitching. So they had a little bit of fabric, they had DMC, and there was a clearance bin with some like it was like 2 cards of Petite Treasure Babe. So I picked those up because I was like, are they just not stocking this anymore? We'll give that a good home. So anyway, I picked up some fabric that they had there. It was either Zweigart or Permin, and I picked up a couple from each brand that they had because we'd gone all the way. I kind of wanted to support it. So this was a 28 count even weave in this very nice color, sage. And this is just about the size of what I had. And for this, because it's a mat, it's not going to get framed, you take it out and use it. I wanted something that would stay fairly flat, so I wanted an even weave. But yeah, the size of the cards that I needed, it was going to be a really tight finish, and it was fraying quite a lot, so I was like scared about losing stuff, so I couldn't stitch on it. So I knew I was gonna do a rolled hem at the edge to finish it. I don't need a backing on it really. I'm not bothered about that. So I had to do the hem before I finished the stitching, otherwise I was going to lose too much. It was going to get too close. So I would have liked to do a pulled hem, to do a little bit more of a nicer designy type hem, but there just was not enough. So I had to get my mind through doing the hem. So I finished the hem, spent a lot of time on that, and then put it away because I was kind of done with it at that point. So I need to come back to it and just finish those cards. I'm just doing just an outline, and it's in this silk from What Mustard Made, which is another local to me artist. They dye yarn mainly, but they do embroidery floss occasionally, and at a market they had this rainbow silk, and there's quite a lot of it, so I don't need all of that to do this, but there's kind of this these three, which they don't have names, but I call like splatter because it's this white with these blocks of colour. And then these two is more like a pastel-y rainbow, like more of a, it's not a consistent dye, but you can see the difference. I can't explain it. So the outline of the cards is in this rainbow, and then the doodads and whatever else I decide, because I'll probably add more things to it than what is called for on the chart, I'll do in this. But yeah, it's not a lot of stitching that needs to happen. All I did when I did the hem was I just had to stitch to the extreme of the corners, so all the way down here, just so I got the size right to finish the hem. Because this rolled hem you count from, or I was doing it, I was counting from the last stitch. So it's not a lot of stitches to finish those cards out. I said if I do 2 cards a month, I'll finish in 6 months, but that's just the cards and then figuring out the doodads. But my mind can't really figure that out until the cards are done. And honestly, if I got this out, I would think I would just stitch it until all the cards were done anyway. So there's not a lot to do with that, and I should get that finished so I can use it. April 2024, I went to Stitch North in Canada, the retreat put on by Evertote, Roxy Floss. Yeah, you know it. If you've been with me a while, you know that I stitched a stocking for my daughter, which I absolutely love that she has. She's used it 2 Christmases in a row now, which is lovely. But I didn't like stitch. It was a dimension stocking. It was really challenging for me. I didn't enjoy it. It felt like a chore. When I finished it, I literally ripped it off the key snap and threw it at my husband and said, I don't want to do that again. And I had bought 3 kits to do, one for Anna, one for Alex, my husband, and one for me. And I said, I'm stitching Anna's. We're not getting stockings. Then I was at Stitch North, and on the freebie table was my unicorn of a stocking. It's called Peaceful Evening by Dimensions. It's one of the older ones, so it goes for a lot on eBay. I have had an eBay notification thing set up for a long time. None that came up in the UK, and if I bought it American, it would you know, they charge you just as much for shipping as they do for the actual thing, and the actual thing is quite expensive. So I bought a chart to do my stocking. It was kind of my second choice, but this was on the freebie table, and there was a little note saying it's like 60% done, and I was like, oh no, because I wasn't gonna do it, because if I do this one for me, I have to do one for my husband. So it's kind of a catch-22 of I get to stitch the one that I want, but it means that I have to stitch the one for my husband. So I had this package and I took it back to my table and I was like, what? It's my unicorn. I can't say no to my unicorn. But it's so difficult. So I was like, if I open it and the stitches go the other way, I will put it back. That's my kind of cut off, because then it's not for me. Like, you could technically like turn it 90 degrees and stitch it that way. But I was like, that's my sign. I opened it, the stitches go the same way that I do my stitches. So this is what was done. I have added a little bit more since, but pretty much everything here was already done. I would love to find the person that put this on the freebie table at Stitch North weekend 2, 2024, and just say thank you and kind of get to know, did they stitch this themselves? Why did they UFO it? I don't know. But yes, I have it and I love it, and thank you. Now, because it's dimensions, it's a kit, they don't give you a ton of fabric, so you can see my margins here are not the best. So it's a bit difficult to work on. But yeah. So I adopted it, if you like. I put April 27th. Was that the day that I picked it up? I can't remember. I think it was, yeah. Yeah, the last weekend in April. So I've said I started it, and I have stitched on it. So it is now my WIP. But the pattern is very well loved, so I had to carefully make copies, and you know, when you pick up someone else's WIP and you don't know where they are, where they've been, it takes a little bit of time to get into the stitching. So it's like 240 stitches high, give or take. So I've said if I do 20 rows a month, I'll be finished in a year. Now, that's looking at it as if nothing has already been stitched, and a lot of it has already been stitched. And I've found my way to the bottom of the toe, so I can start from the bottom and work my way up. Obviously, that big chunk in the middle is pretty much already done, but I do have to go through it and make sure that all of those stitches have been complete, get in the back stitching, all of that. So you basically have to stitch it again. You have to look at everything and make sure it has been stitched. So yeah, 20 rows I don't think is a lot. It's not full coverage. There is quite a bit of open space in the blue, and obviously it's dimensions, so that there's a lot of half stitches. There will be a lot of back stitching. But yeah, I think it just took me that long to get my head around the fact that I have it. It's the one that I want. But then also like picking up someone else's stitching when you don't know where they've been. I'm looking at it, like I want to know the story. But yeah, it does feel different to the Anna one that I did because I think it's a bit older. Just the way it's charted, it's dimensions. So if you stitch dimensions, you kind of know what I mean. But I don't want to say it's bad. It's just it's a very specific way of charting, and it produces a beautiful thing, but it's not very easy. It's not very flowy for me personally. You know, if all you stitch with dimensions and you find it's the best thing on the planet, all the power to you. Love that for you. But yeah, that's where that one is. But I do want to get it finished. And then my husband's is one of the more newer ones. So it will be interesting to see kind of, I don't know technically the generations of dimensions and how they change, but I feel that I have 3 patterns from kind of distinctive times. That is just a personal observation. I don't know the validity of that. If you've stitched more dimensions, or you know more about dimensions and that, what I'm vibing as different, let me know, because I'd be really interested. Next, right, this is where I go wrong with my notes. So I have, at the start of 2024, I had grand plans of doing a Quirky Quaker EPP quilt. Tiny. So my plan was to stitch one or more Quirky Quakers by Darling and Mimsy, our friend Deanna, a month with WIP Go to fit onto a 1-inch hexie. And then I would quilt that, EPP quilt it with some quilting fabric that I have, and make a tiny EPP quilt with lots of Quirky Quakers. I bit off far more than I could chew with that because I realised very quickly that I didn't have the tools that I needed for 1/1 on, you know, higher count fabric that I would need to get it that small. So the lovely Stitchy Natty again is a prolific tiny stitcher, and she helped me a lot with what I needed information wise, but also at Stitch North she very generously gifted me lengths of Gloriana Tudor silk, which is a very, very fine silk that you can stitch 1/1 on. I need to get up to 56 count in some instances. So the plan halted quite suddenly, and then I didn't get back on it until end of April when I saw Natty and got all of the threads that I needed. And then it takes far longer for me to stitch one Quirky Quaker than I think it should in my head. And again, I'm probably just overthinking it and I just need to chill out, but I've only completed one, which is Quirky Quaker Crab. And I finished it and I EPP'd my 6 little pieces around it, and so now I'm working on the second one, which is why it's kind of here in the lineup, because I am counting it as separate WIPs in my Notion, just so I can tick off which Quirky Quakers that I have done. So this is the second Quirky Quaker that I'm doing, or the second tiny Quirky Quaker, because I have done other Quirky Quakers. This is the mouse. So this is on, it's 36 count affogato. So it's in this section of the WIP parade. So I didn't start this until October 21st, but I'm counting it as the EPP started in April-ish. So yeah, this is Quicker Mouse 36 count 1/1 with cheetah silk. It's tiny. I think it takes a lot of mind power for me to stitch this tiny. I really wish it didn't. I really wish it was just as easy as stitching anything else, because, you know, if you watch Bendy Stitchy on her live, she can knock out a Quaker in a live, which is like a couple of hours. I'm exaggerating, but you know, she can knock out one a day. So tell me why this is taking me, this is 3 months old. It's just, it's more difficult than I want it to be, and that's kind of holding me back. So I don't want to set goals. I don't want to say I'm going to do one a month. But I maybe want to just be quicker with it. I want to pick it up and not really put it down until it's finished. But that feels like too much pressure, because it is harder doing 1/1 tiny stitching. But then do I just need more practice? And if I just practice more, it would get quicker. I don't know. So this is Stitched Together. This was the exclusive chart, and you could get fabric and floss. I did get the floss pack. I didn't get the fabric, but this is a Roxy Floss fabric. It was a mist dye, I think. It's a 40 count Lugana, and I just picked it up just because it was in the pile. So this is Stitched Together by Tiny Modernist. Is that right? And so this is where I am. So this was started May 10th, so after I got home from Stitch North, but kind of in commemoration of it. And I finished the top, I think this is like between 80 and 90 stitches high, and I've done the top 20 or so. So if I do 10 rows a month, that's 6 months. That'd be super, super quick. I just need to get it out of its project bag. So it's, 40 count Lugana. I'm doing 1/2. So it's small, but not too tiny. And I just love. I've already got my frame in here for it too. That's kind of how quickly I want to get this done. This is like a little yellow square frame. It's going to be super cute. I think it'll look really cute on that wall up there. Yeah, so it's a paper chart. I'm not counting stitches, just counting rows. Next, July 1st, 2024, I started a sal with my lovely friend Trina. So this is kind of Stitch North. When I knew I was going, and I knew the vendors that were going to be there, I knew I wanted to do kind of a pre-order of stuff that is more difficult for me to get here in the UK. So I had a list. I got most of the stuff on the list. There were some things that we couldn't get. But who is it? Kimat Designs. They were able to source most of the things that I wanted. So one of the things that I wanted was the chart Serbian Proverb by La Di Da. Michelle Bendy used it as a stitch it for me at the retreats that she goes to. If you've not heard of that, it's like you have a pattern and just a bag full of floss, random floss. You ask people at the retreat to pick out a floss that they like and use a length of it, put stitches into the project. They keep the rest of that floss and it passes to the next person. So you get this completed design that's odgy-podge floss that's been stitched on by all your friends, which I think is amazing. But I just loved the pattern. Couldn't find it here in the UK. So yeah, I managed to pick it up. So I was really excited. And then I think at the retreat, I was like showing Trina or talking to Trina about it, and she wanted to start it too. So now we meet once a month on Zoom and stitch on our Serbian proverb. So this is the only one, well, yeah, it's the only one that I haven't broken it down for, like, if I do so many stitches or so many rows, it'll be done in X amount of time, because I only work on this when I'm on the Zoom with Trina. This is how far I've got. So this is on 40 count Valor by Picture This Plus, and it's totally uncalled for floss. The model stitch is very bland, I would say, and these are just colours that I love, and I'm just picking them out with my heart. Trina is doing the same. She's going a little bit more chaotic than me, but yeah, we're both having fun picking floss. So this is where I am. So I've got more border to do, and then basically just all those leaves at the top. So I'm quite a bit ahead of Trina. So the last time that we were on Zoom, I finished my Stitch for Pride 2024. And she worked on her Serbian proverb to catch up a little bit. So she's done the top bit of the words now, which is great. So when we finish this, we're going to turn it into a full coverage Zoom, I think, because obviously you've seen my full coverages, and there's a lot to do, and Trina wants to get out a full coverage of hers that's been languishing. So yeah, this is a one that just doesn't have a deadline, because it gets done when it gets done on the Zoom. Next is a needlepoint. Last year I did 3 needlepoints, and my mum has them all now at her house. But this is the last one, and it's a Christmas one. So I'll keep this one for our decorations. But I bought this group of 4 patterns from From Nancy's Needle website, and this is the last of those. And I really, really like this. It's counted canvas. Don't really know where the line is between counted canvas, needlepoint, that kind of side of the stitching world. It's just really fun. It's super quick because it's just satin stitch, but it's just round and round, so it goes super quick. So it means you get a lot done very quickly, but you eat a lot of floss, and you get done a big piece quickly, which is great. But I am a process stitcher, so I would want lots of these, and they generally call for watercolors or Krynic or lots of specialty floss. You could do it in, DMC pearl cotton and be done with it, but it's it's a lot of money for a short amount of time, in my opinion. I spend a lot of money on my chatelaine, but that's taking me years. I get the longevity of it. This is just my opinion of being a process stitcher. So I think this will be my last counted canvas piece, unless there's a very specific pattern that comes up that I just have to do. But I'm going to stick to my cross stitch to get more longevity out of it. Anyway, so this is Christmas Barn Quilts by From Nancy's Needle. This is where I am right now. So it's kind of, I don't know how long this took me. Not very long at all. So I started July 19th, 2024. So if I could just knock out a quarter every time I pick it up, which wouldn't be that hard, I'd like to have it for next Christmas. But yeah, it's so pretty. Like the detailing and the texture that you get, it's just gorgeous. But yeah, it's over very quickly. If you like that, if you want something quick, try canvas. Highly recommend. Next, this is Blossom Goddess. So I didn't even write down when I started it because this is the project that I'm UFOing. So if you would like to stitch this, please let me know. I'd be happy to pass it on. It is kitted with the one Karen Water Lily silk and all the beads, and I couldn't talk about, I've got like my bobbins of DMC, but it won't be enough for the whole thing because I would just pull from my master. But if you need the DMC, I could get that for you as well. And then this is on 32 count plain air from Zweigart. It's like a very light blue. It's very pretty. So I've just started a tiny little corner. So I'm happy to UFO this, but if you would like this, if you want my WIP, please let me know. It's yeah, all the called for. If you just want the pattern, let me know. If you just need the beads, let me know. Let's talk about it. But yeah, after everything with Nora, I'm kind of not boycotting because I'm gonna finish the ones that I do have, but this is the one that I can say goodbye to, and I'm not overly precious about it. So yeah, pattern, WIP, thread, beads, whatever you need. If you would like it, please get in touch, comment, or send me a message on Instagram. It was really nice to do that last year. I did it with Cabin in the Woods when I had all of the, I had my WIP and the Mrs. Sada silks, and Rob took that off my hands. It was lovely. Like I want it to be a positive thing, that I'm getting rid of it and somebody else gets to love it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that out. I'm gonna put this empty project bag away. A Nora Corbett that I am keeping. This was started July 20th, 2024. Yeah, so I started Christmas Barn Quilts July 19th. Blossom Goddess I started July 20th. And I started Moonglow July 20th too. I was on another starting kick. So, yes, I am keeping... This is Moonglow and Floral Dreams. I am smushing them together on one piece of fabric. Like, these are two lovers having a midnight picnic. That's my vision for it. I love this piece. Like, Blossom Goddess, I could take or leave, but I love this piece because it reminds me of my friends. This is a piece of Blue Moon by Bee Stitch Me that Kim picked up for me very kindly and gave it to me at Stitch North. So I have this. Oh, it's such a nice piece of fabric. And Floral Dreams has the yellow blanket, but I'm colour converting it to a blue Dinky Dyes that I picked up at Geeta's with Megan, again at Stitch North. So this has got like all kinds of good connotations for me. So I'm really happy with that. So these are the two model. And then this is my very slapdash kind of how I'm smushing them together. And then I've got more detailed of like where exactly those overlap to get the composition that I want. And then the vines around them, I'll figure that out later. But it'll just be the blankets and the people, and then the moon, and then everything else I'll think about later, whether I want to or not. So yeah, let me show you my progress. So you can see that blue is Floral Dreams, and the start of that purple in the middle there is Moonglow, where they kind of overlap. And it'll be a bit of a squeeze on this fabric. This is like I say, it's a 32 count, and this is 18 by 27 inches. And it is going to be a bit of a squeeze, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. I am so excited for this piece. I love this piece. I want to stitch on it all the time. So yeah, it's not as big as other Fancy Ladies because it's a Nora Corbett brand design rather than a Mirabilia brand design. But I've got all the DMC, this turquoise from Dinky Dyes, the rest of the watercolours and the beads all ready to go there. So if I do 30 rows, and that's taking each pattern, so I do 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, I'll be done in about a year. And I don't think that's a lot of stitching. But again, we're just vibing. We're just going to go and see how it is. It does take a bit of, although I have recharted it, it still takes a bit of making sure, you know, as you're stitching. So that's that one. So this is another one that I haven't put in my notes because this is the other one that's kind of it'll get done when it'll get done. This is Moonface Belle Pull that we started as kind of a sal. I wanted to stitch this, and Megan Plexchi wanted to start it as well, and I can't remember who suggested it, but we wanted to do it on a kind of aurora. So I had found Picture This Plus Gothic that's very dark and then has like a little bit of a flash of a colour that might be an aurora. But Megan had the wonderful idea to ask very kindly of Kaylee, thesewingshop.ca, Kaylee Tenstitch, if she would very kindly dye us something specific for this chart. And then lots of other people wanted in too. So Kaylee came up with this ice dyeing technique for this stunner of a fabric. I still can't believe it. It's exactly what I envisioned, and she's a genius. So this is how far I am. It's technically, I don't know, I am counting stitches. It's technically 53.7%. And I've just gone over the page break. So I've only got the one page left to do. But my plan with this since the beginning, since I started stitching, is I split it up and said I do 400 stitches per new and full moon. So about every 2 weeks-ish, you know, moons. And that way I'll be finished by about May. And in doing those 400 stitches, you know, go over a bit. I've done like 430. I did 580 or something last time to get over that page break. So as long as I do at least 400 stitches, which is perfectly doable in a session on this piece, I know that for a fact because I've done it so many times now, then I'll be finished by May. And you know, that kind of started just with this piece, and just because it was like it's moon phase, and I'm like, oh, I could do, you know, stitch it when the moon is full on new. And that has really worked for me. I don't know why that's the case, but I feel like that's the kind of goal that I can have in mind. Now, I can't fit that kind of system into 30 WIPs, but I'll try and have that mindset when doing these goals. That's just like, if you just keep it out for X number of stitches, you'll be finished in X number of sessions. That's the vibe. That's when I felt the vibe for 2025. So yeah, that was that. The next one I started, this was kind of an impulse start, and I don't know whether I should restart it or I should just keep going with it. This is My Necessity. Look, I can see it better than you can see it on the screen. This is My Necessity by Nuri of Shaded Stitchery. And I started for her birthday. Her birthday's October 2nd. My birthday's October 18th. So it's kind of my start as well. But it's a very, very poor start. The needle and a little bit of a cloud. This is 40 count Vidal that I started myself, and it's just this kind of crazy mottled, it's a bit grungy, but I find it happy at the same time. When I posted this, Nuri liked the fabric so much, I sent her some as well because I've got tons of it. So I'm happy about that. But I'm stitching this with kimono silk, which is very fine silk on a bobbin meant for sewing machines, but again, stitchy natty, tiny stitching, but also Kaylee cross stitch, another prolific tiny stitcher. She stitches with kimono silk, and there is a place in the UK that I can get kimono silk, so I have quite a collection now. So I'm going to do all this in kimono silk. Again, it's tiny stitching. It takes a lot. Why do I do it? So this progress is 1.6% complete, because it is a digital pattern, so I can track stitches. So if I do 500 stitches a month, I can finish it in a year. 500 stitches 1/1 on 40 count is probably difficult for me. I'm gonna keep going, but this one's gonna be a struggle. I think I started it too quickly just because it was Nuri's birthday, but I really want to, because I want it to be tiny and I want it on this fabric. So I'm gonna keep going. But why do I do this to myself? And then for my actual birthday, I started, is this another? Oh no, this was a, this is the first time I'm showing you a chart. I'm hoping that I'm putting pictures in it for everything else. This is a chart that I got from Cece, who did an auction with Michelle Bendy for funds towards training her assistance dog. So I like tea, Alex likes coffee, so I wanted to do a tea something for me, and then next is going to be a coffee something for him. But this I decided to do on 36 count brown sugar by Fibre on a Whim. And this is where I am. I am changing a lot. The cup is meant to be full coverage, and I haven't got time for that. And the label is supposed to be full coverage, and I haven't got time for that. So I've changed colours as well, I think. It's kind of a vibe. It's kind of the same vibe, but it's not going to be as much stitching. So where's it? This was started October 18th for my birthday. And if I finish 30 rows a month, I'll finish in 3 months. This one should be super quick. Yeah. No time at all. I should just do it. But yeah, I want to finish that and frame it for near our kettle situation for tea and coffee, because then I kind of strong-armed Megan, other Megan with a H of Long Distance Stitches, into starting Coffee Quaker with me and Amy, Pearls and Ponderings. Coffee Quaker by Heartstrings Amplery, because Megan won it in a Michelle auction. I've had it for a while. I'm doing my tea one. I'm doing this for a coffee one for Alex. So this is what I have so far. So I started this November 8th. This is 2% progress. If I do 400 stitches a month, I'll finish in 2 years. It's a big one. It's like, so I'm doing this 1/1 on 32 count even weave. I think it's just cream. And I'm doing it in just from stash, not the called for, but kind of the same vibes. I just picked stuff that looked coffee kind of vibes, colours. Is it 1/1? Yeah, 1/1 on 32 count. But yeah, it's a lot of stitching. So yeah, 400 stitches a month, 2 years. I feel like this one's going to be another albatross. And that is my last WIP. No more WIPs. So yeah, it's New Year's Eve. I need to stitch on Moonphase Bellpull because it was full moon yesterday. Can't remember. I was meant to stitch on it yesterday, and I was prepping for the WIP parade, so I didn't do any stitching. So I need to do that today, and then I have a new start kind of in mind. My auntie would like me to do her a sampler. So I found one that she likes. I said I don't know when I will finish it, but I will start it. It's not that big. It is While Iris Naps. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put a picture up in here. And then I have another While Iris Naps pattern that I'm going to do the border from, because my auntie wanted a pretty floral border. So I'm going to kind of smush the two together and see what I can come up with. But yeah, I'm going to try not to do sales. I'm going to try not to do too many new starts, unless I finish something, like, you know, one in, one out kind of thing. And I've written it on my this is my magnet board if you haven't seen it. So I've written 2025, no plans, just vibes. So I have a magnet for each of my WIPs. These are my bigger WIPs that I have to go on my Lowry stand downstairs, and these are the ones that I can do at my desk. So it is, I have the name of the pattern, and then all of those, you know, 500 stitches a month, you can finish it in a year, whatever. So I can look at it and just be like, I can pick that and know kind of where I'm heading, rather than a goal, just a vibe. So then my plan is still, or if you're new, this is what I do. So I pick one, so I say, so I do have a magnet for Moon Phase Bell Pull, so my goal is 800 stitches a month. You'll be finished in 4 months. That's kind of its own little thing, but I will move it along to show that I have stitched on that. And then I can pick something else. So if I want to pick up Moe Imperial, my very oldest WIP, and I don't have to stitch 3,000 a month, but I can put some time into that, I'll move it across. And then White Star I'll probably do straight after, since they're in the same project bag, and I'll move it across. And then I can choose from whatever's left, and that way everything will get touched before everything gets put back, and then we can start again. It just gives me some visual clue of what I haven't stitched on. I have all of this data in my Notion, as I said, so it tells me when I stitched on it, how many stitches I did, if I'm counting stitches, so I can filter it by what have I not stitched on in the longest time, and get that out if that's a kind of prompt that I need. Or, you know, I can just look at my magnets and pick something off of there and then move it across when I have worked on it. If you want to know more about my organization of that, please let me know. I might do a little refresher of that. I have a couple of videos from a couple of years ago now, so I probably need to update it with what I'm doing now. But let me know if you're interested in that sort of thing. I'd love to help. I like helping to organize people. Or if you're interested in Notion, there are a few stitchers out there who are using it in their own ways, and they've got some tutorial videos, but I highly recommend Nathy's template. It's super, super affordable and amazingly comprehensive of anything that you need to track. You can do it in the app, and the app is free. You're just paying for the template that Nathy has built. You don't need to pay for anything after you've paid for the template. And you can use it as much as you want over and over again. So yeah, that's my 2024 WIP parade. If you saw anything that you are working on as well, please let me know. I'd love to know other people working on the same things. If you'd like Blossom Goddess as a WIP, please reach out. I'd be happy to talk about rehoming her. And I will see you in the new year for a regular Flosstube with no plans, just vibes. Okay, I love you guys. Take care. Thanks for stopping by. I love you. Bye.